I'm Cape Joel, and this is Comic Smack, your weekly, daily, all the time, anytime comic book show where I give you your fix of everything you need to know from the world of comic books and superheroes. And on today's show, we're taking a closer look at the Mighty Thor at the Gates of Valhalla issue number 1, a special one-shot issue that takes a look back at the grand history of Thor to perhaps give us a better idea of what's coming in the future. What happens next? Well, let's hop on in together and find out, shall we? So, the framing device for this issue actually involves the Goddesses of Thunder, aka the granddaughters of Thor. You'll remember them from all the way back during the God Butcher arc, which, goddamn, that was really 5 years ago? Jeez, the time just flies, I tell ya. It seems that one day the three warrior women got super bored in their future mostly peaceful Asgard, and because of that they decided to drug their grandfather with sleeping berries so they could travel back in time and see, as they put it, the golden age of Thor. How do the three travel back in time? Well, they make use of the time stones. Oh, Jason Aaron, you cheeky writer boy, you referencing your own work in Wolverine Spider-Man. As we quickly discover, though, the Goddesses of Thunder are much better fighters than they are time travelers. They go back too far at first and do battle with some Norse trolls. They make a pit stop in the year 2099 because, I mean, really, what time-hopping Marvel tale is complete without a trip to 2099? Jason Aaron also takes the opportunity to drop some references to what's going on in his Avengers book right now, having the three sisters come across the Avengers BC, while also mentioning how the girl's grandfather Thor never much liked talking about the old days as a superhero, and especially the events of the final host. Again, go read Avengers for more information on that. Eventually, though, they end up in modern-day New York City. They get into a bit of a scuffle with each other before we realize this is exactly where they want to be, because they end up running into Jane Foster on her way for more chemo. Why is this where the Thor granddaughters want to be? Well, that's because, you see, the golden age of Thor that they were alluding to had nothing to do with their grandfather. No, these three love and revere Jane for her time holding the hammer. It would seem that growing up for the three girls, the story of Jane the Goddess of Thunder was their absolute favorite story, and they had their grandfather Thor repeat it to them ad nauseum. Jane is understandably pretty touched to know that her legacy will be maintained in the future and that she actually ended up inspiring some pretty cool people in their own right. She only wishes she could fly with them one last time. Sadly, Jane's hammer-wielding days seem to be behind them, but the sisters decide to take it upon themselves to give her one last nice flight before she has to go in for chemo. Aw, how sweet. Now, this is a special extra-length one-shot, and the latter half of the comic deals with Malekith the Accursed, the new king of the Dark Elves and the person perpetrating the War of Realms at the moment. He takes some time out of his busy warmongering schedule to go back to the swamp village in the land of the Dark Elves he was born to torture the populace, because even though Malekith hates lots of things, he especially hates where he came from. We are also reminded that Curse, his current bodyguard, isn't exactly a huge fan of him right now, and that is almost certainly going to play a big role later, why we even get to look at the Black Bifrost. Gifted to Malekith by Loki, it's this device that allows Malekith and his group to travel between the realms, which Malekith chooses to do to check in on the war effort. The sad truth is, for our heroes, Malekith and his group were actually winning quite a few victories all over the place. We check in with Dario Agger, and he's just as fun as ever. It's funny, Agger actually probably fought Jane Foster Thor more than just about any other villain, and in a way he feels bad that he won't get to finish the fight with her. And hey, speaking of Jane, lastly, Malekith decides to go to Earth to make fun of Jane from afar for being so weak, so human, and so cancer-ridden. He also vows that even though a human is no longer wielding Mjolnir, he promises to bring the War of Realms directly to Jane's doorstep and burn all of humanity to cinders. And it's right around there the comic ends. So that was the Mighty Thor at the Gates of Valhalla, everybody, and overall it was a nice little stopgap issue between the end of the Jane Foster era and the beginning of the new Odinson era. It's also a nice way to get Lax fans back up to speed on what's going on, who's the major players, what battles are being fought out where in the universe. I especially enjoyed getting to see some of the story from the villain's perspective. Malekith is so deliciously evil, he really is the perfect villain to hold down this series, and he has been. Overall, this one was a pretty fun little one-and-done issue. I would give it an 8 out of 10. So that's At the Gates of Valhalla, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, be sure to take a closer look at some of these other videos I've been working on. Then, of course, you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Cape Joel, so you're always up to speed on what I'm doing next. And hey, if you like what I do and are feeling in a supportive mood, please check out my Patreon link down in the description. Patrons get exclusive access to videos and content before anyone else, and you can do so for as little as $1 a month. And until next time, everyone, this has been Cape Joel. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye-bye.